I'm very excited to be here today. My name is Ms. Hicks. I'm a student from Iowa State and I'm studying to be an elementary teacher. Today we're going to be reading some short stories and identifying characteristics within the story. First we'll review what a character is, what characteristics are, and then I'll show some examples of how to identify characteristics of a character within that story. So first, a character is a person in a novel, play, or movie. Characteristics are features or qualities belonging typically to a person, place, or thing, and they serve to identify it. So for today's purposes, we're going to be looking at characteristics of a person instead of a place or a thing. First, we're going to start by reading some short stories. So the first one is going to be The Elephant's Child by Rudyard Kipling. Rudyard Kipling. Great, I don't have the stories. Sorry. Alright, so for this one, I'm going to be reading the story and I'm going to find the characteristics and kind of show you guys how I found those. So the first story, The Elephant's Child. Long, long ago, the mighty elephant had no trunk. His nose was short and only as big as a boot. But the elephant's child, just a baby elephant, was very curious and always asked silly questions. Aunt Ostrich, why do your tail feathers grow so tall? Uncle Giraffe, what makes your skin so spotty? Miss Hippo, how does your mouth open so wide? One fine morning, the curious baby elephant asked, what does the crocodile have for dinner? All together, everybody yelled, hush, in a dreadful tone, and they shushed and shooed him away angrily. But the baby elephant did not understand why. He was still curious. Then the baby elephant came upon the magnificent Kolo bird, and he sighed, my family has shushed me away and shooed me, but I still want to know what the crocodile eats for dinner. The Kolo bird answered sadly, go to the banks of the great green river if you want to find out. After a long and tiresome search, the baby elephant found the crocodile by the riverbank. I have been looking for you, Mr. Crocodile, he said with excitement. Will you please tell me what you have for dinner? The crocodile grinned wide and he said, come closer, baby elephant. I'll whisper it to you. The baby elephant bent his head down to the crocodile's large, toothy mouth. I think, growled the crocodile, today I will begin with a baby elephant. And suddenly, the crocodile caught him by his little nose. The baby elephant cried out through his pinched nose, let go, you're hurting me. Stubbornly, he sat back and began to pull as hard as he could. As he pulled and leaned back, his nose began to stretch. They both pulled and pulled and pulled until the baby elephant's nose was almost 5 feet long. Finally, the crocodile let go of his nose with a plop. The poor baby elephant was left with a very sore and very long nose. At first, all the animals made fun of his great ugly nose, but then he found many uses for it. He could pick fruit from high treetops, brush away flies, and even breathe when he was underwater. And that is how the elephant got his trunk. Alright, so from that short story, the character that I'm going to be using is going to be the baby elephant. So one of the characteristics that I found for him is that he was curious. So I pulled from some in-text clues about him. If you can find in the first paragraph, it says, but the elephant's child, just a baby elephant, was very curious. So I pulled directly from the text because I seen the word curious. So I called that one of his first characteristics. The next characteristic that I gathered from the story was that he was adventurous. The baby was so curious about what a crocodile eats for dinner that he wanted to go find out. So he went on an adventure to go find him. And then the third in-text clues that I used was that he was fearless. Even when the crocodile was pulling on his trunk and he couldn't get away from him, he was fearless by having the courage to stand up to that crocodile. I hope you're all a little bit more confident with identifying some qualities of character that describe their personality. Now we're going to do one more practice together. The next short story is going to be Rochelle's birthday story. And I will read this one, and then I'll ask you guys to help find some characteristics from that story. It was Saturday, the day of Rochelle's birthday party, and she was so excited she could hardly keep still. She had spent the whole morning decorating her house with streamers and balloons. She had set the table with matching plates, cups, and napkins. Best of all, she had baked and iced cupcakes for each of her friends, without anyone's help. Rochelle's little brother Remy was his usual bouncy self. "Happy birthday, Rochelle," he yelled, running around the kitchen and waving a balloon he tore down from the wall, where Rochelle had taped it up. "Calm down," she ordered. Remy's jumping was making the counters tremble, and Rochelle feared her cupcakes would fall on the floor. "Get out of here and quit tearing down my decorations, or I won't give you the cupcake I made for you." "I get a cupcake? Yeah, yay!" Remy shouted, bouncing around as boisterously as ever. "Stop it, Remy, you'll ruin everything," Rochelle wailed. Remy didn't stop. Finally, Rochelle picked up a cupcake. "This one was going to be yours," she told Remy, and threw it to the floor, where it landed upside down with a plop. Remy stopped bouncing, looked down at the cupcake, and began to cry. So from reading these stories, there's a characteristic worksheet that I have. Can anybody tell me what a character from the story was?
Rochelle.
Yes, that is correct. What would be a characteristic of Rochelle?
She started off excited.
Yeah, her party was exciting at first. Did that change through the story?
Yeah. And she got worried.
Yeah, because her brother was ruining everything. So we can say that Rochelle was excited as one characteristic. Does anybody want to say another characteristic of Rochelle, or maybe another character that had a characteristic?
Rochelle was angry after what her brother had done.
Mm-hmm. What about Remy? Can anybody gather something from him?
He was very energetic at first, because it said it was his usual bouncy self.
Mm-hmm. And then I would also say that maybe he was not as helpful. He was not helpful to her because she was getting angry. All right, good job. So we're going to do the next one you're going to do by yourself. Do you guys want me to read it, or would you like to read it?
You can read it.
You read it.
Okay. All right, I'm going to sit with you guys for this one. So for the next one, you guys are going to be putting your characters on there with characteristics, and you only need to do 3, but if you'd like to do more, you're welcome to. All right, so this one is the story of Dr. Dolittle. Let's see. John Dolittle now became dreadfully, awfully busy. He found hundreds and thousands of monkeys sick: gorillas, orangutans, chimpanzees, dog-faced baboons, marmosets, gray monkeys, red ones, all kinds, and many had died. The first thing he did was to separate the sick ones from the well ones. Then he got Chi-Chi and his cousin to build him a little house of grass. The next thing, he made all the monkeys who were still well come and be vaccinated. And for 3 days and 3 nights, the monkeys kept coming from the jungles and the valleys and the hills to the little house of grass, where the doctor sat all day and all night, vaccinating and vaccinating. But so many were sick. There were not enough well ones to do the nursing, so he sent messages to the other animals, like the lions and the leopards and the antelopes, to come and help with the nursing. But the leader of the lions was a very proud creature, and when he came to the doctor's big house full of beds, he seemed angry and scornful. "Do you dare to ask me, sir?" he said, glaring at the doctor. "Do you dare to ask me? Me, the king of beasts, to wait on a lot of dirty monkeys? Why, I wouldn't even eat them between meals." Although the lion looked very terrible, the doctor tried hard not to seem afraid of him. "I didn't ask you to eat them," he said quietly. "And besides, they're not dirty. They've all had a bath this morning. Your coat looks as though it needed brushing badly. Now listen, and I'll tell you something. The day may come when the lions get sick, and if you don't help the other animals now, the lions may find themselves left all alone when they are in trouble. That often happens to proud people. The lions are never in trouble, they only make trouble," said the leader, turning up his nose. And he stalked away into the jungle, feeling he had been rather smart and clever.